right? I like this guy, by the way. His name is Henry Onyango. I'm not related to him, but he was also a student like you guys at Technical University. You see him there with a computer and a gas hapo. What is he doing? He developed an app. So what does his app do? Usually as women, when we are cooking, then unaambiwa, ma'am, gas imeisha. So even while you're in the office, in his app, you can check, gas iko karibu kuisha. On your way home, you pass and collect. You don't have to be told, ukiwa nyumbani, gas imeisha. What else did he do? He put all the eligible gas suppliers, because there are so many people who supply fake gas and gas distributors. So he put the legitimate ones, the ones who've been authorized by the manufacturers, whether it's Total and etc. He put them in his app, so you can see which ones, if your distributor is legit. This is Henry Onyango. This was a student project. So don't give up. Yeah, don't give up. And another one that you like, which is why I know very well about kinetic energy. These two were 24 and 22. Also just from university. What did they do? They said, the bicycle, when you cycle, anything that you involve energy has to release some sort of energy. And in this case, it's what? Energy released in movement is called kinetic energy. I'm not an engineer, but because I look at countless of innovations, I get to know some of these things. So when you cycle, it releases energy and power that can charge a phone. So they tested this on watchmen, uko Bungoma. Watchmen ndio walikuwa prototype. Wakaambiwa wewe cycle uone phone ikicharge. Ukienda kazi una cycle. So you don't have to look, watchmen don't have, wengine hawana socket kwa hizo nyumba wanakaanga. So una cycle, ina charge. Anything with movement, which is why he's saying even a road can generate energy, kinetic energy, right? How many of you think these are innovations? Or you think they are innovation? So put your hands up very confidently. You are very confident up here that all of them are innovations. Put your hands up confidently. If you don't think some of them are innovations, don't put your hand up. Okay? Okay? Wonderful. So how many of you think they are innovation? Put your hands up very confidently, very confidently. How many of you have reservations about some of them? Okay? You all think all of them are innovations. Yeah, so what is an innovation? What is an innovation? Sorry, I didn't tell you a story about this one. Maybe I'll tell you just after I explain. What is innovation? Something qualifies as innovation only if it addresses a specific challenge. It has to meet two criteria. It has to address a specific challenge. Number two, it has to achieve value for both the company and the customer. You have to achieve value for both the company and the customer. For the company, the value is only looked at in terms of money, bottom line, profit. For the customer, is it meeting my need? Right? So sadly, there are so many innovations that don't meet this criteria. You solve a problem, yes, maybe, but are you achieving value? Can a customer pay money for it? Where is this innovation? What happened to it? Have you ever seen something like this in Kenya? Sisai kila watchman angekuwa nayo. Have you seen it? Where is it? And yet Nike claimed to have done this. Nike currently, they have a solution. You cycle, you charge your phone, Nike in the US. And yet 2 young people developed it here in Kenya. Onyango, where is Henry? How many of you have seen this app in the market? Okay. Richard Turere, at least he impacted his community. I think his entire community, I can't remember the number, maybe 150 people got it. Nyaga and Charity, they're still going strong. Their company is called Strauss Energy. You can look it up, Strauss Energy. But they faced many challenges. They almost collapsed. Now, the true test of an innovation is that it has to address a challenge. All of them address challenges, but do all of them achieve value for both the company and the customer? For your solution, you must convince KPLC to buy that power on the road. An innovation is worthless if it doesn't translate to value in terms of money for the company or value for the customer. In your case, it will be KPLC. It is useless, no matter how much you say, I innovated. And we see countless of them. Countless, yeah. When I was at the Kenya Climate Innovation Center, countless. Even now, in our portal, I see many ideas, right? But it has to meet all that. So who's an entrepreneur? Remember, the topic is the link between innovation, entrepreneurship, and the big 4. So an entrepreneur is that person, this person, who, yes, has an innovation. The creativity and innovation is very high here. But he's able to utilize his networks, his business know-how, management skills, kila kitu iko high hapa, to turn that into value. Because you can only survive when you turn it into value. You can only survive, and that's an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a hustler, not in the political context, but in the, I don't know how to put it, but that's how I teach, sorry. I have no political bearing, but I'm just saying it has to generate value. You only qualify as an entrepreneur. I know we use that word to mean everyone. Not every businessman is an entrepreneur, sadly. Wengine exist for subsistence. Our farmers are for subsistence, some of them. They exist to feed their daily needs, right? True or false? And which is why even when government is designing policy, I speak a lot about this. I've not done it for a long time because I'm very busy, but even when you're designing policy, you must segregate people. Even when you look at SMEs, some are just producers, they're subsistence. They exist to eat only, not to create value, not to turn into $1 million companies. How many companies in Africa, in Kenya, are global brands? How many? Tell me of a company that you can say, hii company si ya Kenya tu. Ukienda unaweza ipata Africa, unaweza ipata Europe. Which one? Equity Bank at least unaipata East Africa, si ndio? At least, Vodafone is South Africa at least. So how many in Kenya have become global brands or African brands? See, you're struggling. And the problem lies in this definition, that we must move away from just innovating to thinking about creating value. This drives me. I'm also an entrepreneur, by the way. It drives me, right? It drives me. So you have to, it's about creating value for your customer and the company. M-Pesa is one such innovation. It's gone global, but they're very countless. James Mwangi is amazing. He's always thinking of all these innovations that he's taking across. But as Japika Europe, but how many brands za ng'ambo ziko hapa? KFC. Ziko mingi? Si ndio? Za huko ziko hapa ngapi mingi? I had a lady use very big words about, what did you talk about? About, not democratization, what did you call it? Protection. Yeah, so many international plans are here. What's their secret? The secret is a mindset. That we must always think that whatever we are developing must develop value. Yeah, so many people are living, even if you look at it, 90% of our population is SMEs, I mean the SME space. Out of those, how many are subsistence? Just doing business for living. No wonder people keep saying Kenya has so much arable land. Israel is dry, but it's exporting mangoes. Because many of our farmers are subsistence. They're not commercial. Mindset, right? So this definition is very key. An entrepreneur must be able to hit the innovation and use all that business know-how networks to turn that into value. Now, is all lost? No, all is not lost. Usually in the innovation cycle, there's something called design thinking, where it helps you shape that into where you're looking at value, the vision, like Ed talked about. If Kenya didn't have that foresight, kwa tunafikiria tu hapa, some things will never be done. So it's mindset, guys. It's mindset. So usually there's a process you go through. You first frame the problem, then you come up with the idea, then you prototype, then you test it in the market. Test. Spend some time. Because you're testing it in the market to see, will it have value for my customer? Can a customer pay me for this? I remember people like Sun Culture. How many of you know Sun Culture here? The guys who do solar pumps. Are they in Nakuru? You know them, right? I remember I spent nights in the office with Samir, the CEO of Sun Culture. Planning. We go to Mwea, we test solar pump, we test what is the right price. We do that, we collect data from customers, we interview farmers, we interview, yeah, they reshape the technology. It took them close to 2 years to launch in Nairobi. Right now, they raised many millions of dollars. So, guys, you cannot escape this process. I don't know whether in universities there are incubation processes that you go through. There are. Lee Strathmore has. Does Kabarak have like some sort of innovation process that they go through here? Do you guys have this design thinking? Not as formalized, and it's a gap across. All those innovations I spoke about were developed by university students. Zilikufa tu huku kwa mapepa. Research papers, zilikufa, okay? So because my time is up. So there's hope. Sometimes you don't have the resources at the university. There are many incubation hubs as well, right? Our center, I run a support center. What happens is at the center, if you go to our website, you can click the register button and say, mimi niko tu na idea. Obviously, our services are not for free. we charge, but there's so many trainings you can take advantage of. We run many trainings with KIPPRA, funded by MasterCard Foundation, funded by the German government. So many things we run at the center, right? So just go click the register button. If you have an idea, if you have something that you feel is worthwhile, go there, click, fill in our pre-screening form, and someone will get back to you, right? So just go have a look. But even if ukifikiria kwa nyuma tu sana, visit a hub. Hapa Nakuru, there's one called Nakuru Box. Iko hapo town. There's one called Mount Kenya Hub. They make you go through all these processes. We launched a board where we were supporting all these hubs. And they have money now. We have brought we've been able to raise money to support many hubs across the country, to support as many innovations as possible, because sometimes you can't do it alone. You can imagine how many innovations can come out. Yeah. So how do this all fit in the Big Four plan? I can't do the Big Four more justice than you guys you have done, but I think ultimately it's for us to think food security. The mindset, again. Affordable housing. Someone told me, Linda, even the socket, even just a socket of all these affordable housing homes, zinatoka China. Socket too, socket, right? The one person who builds ata milango. Very few people do it commercially. Easy milango, doors, can you believe it, doors? Few companies do it commercially. Like we cannot source this locally, we can't. I know that because even when you're building a house, they put you in a queue. There's one on Kiambu Road. We stayed in the queue for 4 months because they can't meet demand. Mlango, hizi zambao, mlango. So the option is to import. Guys, we must think commercial. I know sometimes it's not good with donors. I speak with them sometimes. We must now mobilize money more for people who have commercial mindsets. That's the only way we will get out of a jam on food security and a lot of those problems you are talking about. So thank you very much. I think I have done more than my time, but it's been such a pleasure and it's been worth my time to meet you all. Asante sana.
Thank you, Linda, for representing that topic in a very able way, the link between innovation, entrepreneurship, and the Big Four agenda. You would agree with me, ladies and gentlemen, that Linda has made a wonderful presentation. Linda, thank you for doing that good job. And thank you, Eda, who did the first presentation on the long-term development agenda. The presentation was wonderful made, and we now want to entertain a question and answer session, just for about 10 to 20 minutes at most. Then I'm looking at the body language of, do we make it 10 minutes? Thank you. Thank you. So we will have a 10 minutes question and answer session, interacting with those two presentations. So you will raise your hand, you pick it upon, you say your name, your institution, and the person to whom you will be directing your question. Then you ask the question. I am looking around. Dr. Moses Tiga will be number one. There's that gentleman up there. Then the gentleman who is doing an innovation to get KPLC out of business. We can't wait for that. Yeah, so let's start with Dr. Thiga.
Thank you. Mine is regarding the SME support center. maybe a little bit of elaboration on how you mentor innovation hubs, because Kabarak University is in the process of establishing one. Just a word or two on how you mentor innovation hubs when your time comes.
Thank you. Thank you. I expected a question like that from him. And yes, there it comes. That gentleman up there. Please say your name, your institution, and the person you're directing the question to.
My name is Calvin Odari from Egerton University. My question, I have two questions. One to Ms. Ada Mongola. There's a debt burden as a result of the implementation of Vision 2030. So, and it's a current issue. Many people are talking about it, especially top economists like David D, Welie Mohammed, and they're asking that Kenya's economy is in distress. How are we going to sail through the looming debt trap? And then the second question is to Ms. Linda Onyango, and it's on intellectual property laws. How are the locals and the youths, how are they going to be assisted so as to register and patent their businesses? Because you talked about Elon Musk claiming that he had a similar invention, Nike claiming another invention. Yeah.
Thank you. The gentleman at the back from KIPPRA.
I say good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As I said earlier, I'm Onyango Joseph Uguta from KIPPRA University. First, my question goes to the under innovation. As per now, what happened recently last year, or what is in progress as per now? There are some innovations which brings effects to us students and to external world or the entire world. For example, the invention of online studies. The US people are now complaining that most of the students are sending their notes to Kenyans so that they study their notes, then do for them the examinations. So in that resulting to fake doctors and engineers. So what are some of your views over this? The second question goes to under Vision 2030. What are some of the drawbacks which are pulling us below, not to achieving Vision 2030? Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are three questions. Kindly, let's respond. Have the three questions responded to? Yes, please. A follow-up to one of the questions. Okay. Can we have a microphone, please? We'll be taking questions in rounds of three. So those were the first three questions. I request that they be responded to, then we come back for the next three.
Yeah, regarding the Kenya Vision 2030, the question was asked about Kenya grappling with the debt burden as a result of implementing these projects. I noted in the presentation that you mentioned that it was envisioned that these projects or this vision would be achieved through 70% private financing. What, if you are aware, was the wisdom behind that percentage, 70%? Quite a big figure, probably leading to the debt burden.
Thank you. Kindly give a microphone to Ms. Mwangola, then after her to Ms. Linda. Ms. Mwangola.
Thank you very much for the questions. I'll start with actually the question on the debt burden that was asked by Calvin and Dr. Thiga. Yes, and I did rightfully mention that it was envisioned that 70% would be financed by private sector. This is because this was a very ambitious plan. And compared to the goal, it was necessary to take those steps and to calculate how do you get to an upper middle income country in that, within that 20 years. And it was envisioned that, and when it was calculated, that was the working, that, you know, most of these projects, that would be quick wins to reach that level of the economy, that is the percentage. So government was to give the infrastructural development, all the groundwork, and then private sector is attracted to invest in these projects. I'm sure maybe Dr. Rose Ngugi is an economist. She could give the exact calculating, but I'm not sure about the exact calculation of the 70%. So financing these projects was not going to be through the exchequer. It wasn't envisioned that way because it wasn't possible. And therefore, there was what was created, a PPP framework with a PPP law, private-public partnership framework and law to guide engagement of private sector. And right now, there's a fully fledged department under the Treasury that guides engagement by private sector to invest in these projects. And I think even at a personal level, we'll all appreciate that when you aim very high, you want a house and your salary doesn't allow you to buy that house immediately, you would definitely go for a mortgage. So it's the same thinking behind it. You want to live in a nice house, you need to sacrifice. Onyango from Laikipia University asked about what are some of the drawbacks. Of course, financing has been a major one. Another one has been, engagement of private sector. Some of these projects have not attracted enough investments. And I think the economic environment and also the political cycle, you appreciate that every 5-year cycle we go into an election, and that is when things slow down. So some of them are capacity issues within our institutions that have slowed down some of these achievements, but very much on track, I believe, from the results that we see. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mongola, for those good responses. If we can now hand over the microphone to Ms. Linda so she can respond to the questions directed to her.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I won't remember the names. It's one of my weaknesses, but I will address the 3 questions that came to me. How do we mentor innovation hubs? Very huge need. The best way to have that is, and we realize that gap, is that there are 2 associations currently that have been formed for incubation hubs and hubs, yeah? So one is called the Association of Startup and SME Enablers. Everyone supporting innovation has an association, and another one is called Countrywide Hubs, hubs existing in the country. So you become a member of those associations, and that's the only way we saw it can create a platform of information exchange. There are some hubs, the Nairobi hubs, for example, they're very well advanced, right? They do 3D printing, they do everything. The whole spectrum of design thinking to the end. But a lot of the countrywide hubs, those in Nakuru, Kisii, where they're not. So plugging into the association, plugging into the programs of the associations. I know ASEC, for example, the Association of Startup and SME Enablers, the German government has just approved a huge program that will support all the hubs. So first step is for all universities to plug in there. Another step, Kenya is doing a lot. Kenya National Innovation Agency. Please plug in your innovation hubs there. They're doing a lot. They're doing a lot, and they're earmarked for a lot of funding. So I would urge you to do that as a step, because there'll also be knowledge exchange with other hubs. Intellectual property law, very good question. Very valid concern. We've seen a lot of IPs get out, and which is why you need to join an incubation hub. The role of incubation hubs, number 1, is to help you patent, is to connect you with KIPPRA and to connect you with all these guys and also support you in patenting. give you all the knowledge, etc. So please, if you're an innovator, join an incubation hub and become a member. Yeah, like here in Nakuru, we have Nakuru Box. Like I said, you have Mount Kenya Hub. I think Nakuru Box, Iko Town. They're also members of ASEC and all those things. These are people we know. We have an ecosystem already now. We created the ecosystem. I was in the first board, I retired. So we've created an ecosystem of all these hubs and more are joining so that we can capacity build everyone together. And so the third question was around innovation. I took it as the byproducts of innovation. So the issue about university students, some of them having fake degrees. Innovation is a disruptor. Definitely innovation has the good and the bad. Case in point, Uber. Uber had good and the bad. Yeah, the good is that it was convenient. It was easy. The bad is that it took all the Kenatkos and all those guys out of business. So any innovation has the good and the bad, but that necessarily doesn't mean that there's no need for innovation. It is then, that's where regulation comes in. That's where regulations and policy comes in to ensure that we have more of the good than the bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for responding to the questions. We now come back to the audience to solicit for more questions, if there are any. And we are taking them in rounds of three. There's one question over here. There's another question over there. Then the third one will be over there. Maybe we can take 5. Yeah, that will be, so one question, second, third, fourth, and fifth, the lady. Then we will still come back for more questions.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Florence Opondo from KIPPRA University. And my question is concerning Vision 2030. Many a times I feel that these are pronouncements that are made by the politicians when they are addressing the audience and they want to excite and entice them. And you know, when you talk about achieving Vision 2030, they feel excited, but then the internalization of Vision 2030, I don't know how it is done because let me give you an example of development funders. When you respond to proposals, they look at the problem and the solutions, and they must be anchored on some of these development initiatives, both national and international initiatives. So I don't know how the internalization and just to monitor that at the end of the day, the institutions have anchored their projects, you know, on these Vision 2030 pillars, and they are addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gashoka Richard. I'm music assistant at Peko University, Kabarak. My question goes to Madam Eda Mongela, matters affordable housing. You've talked about mortgages on those kind of low income earners, I guess, if I'm not wrong. Does the government consider about those guys who are like, let me not use the political word, the hustler, those guys who don't have that limit ya salary? Because ukiangalia kuna wengine hawana salary and the government iko na hizo opportunities za mortgages. Kuna wenye hawezi afford mortgages. Government iko na programs to help those guys because si wengi wanaweza afford that kind of mortgage allowance to help them kujimudu kimaisha.
Thank you. That is the second question. There was another question up there.
Okay, thank you. My name is Daniel Kombe, a law student from Kabarak Law School. My question is directed to Ms. Eda Mangolo, if I'm not wrong. Okay, you notice that the big challenge and the problem that is annoying and which is derailing development is corruption. You will notice that we need money for us to achieve this agenda for Vision 2030. We need money. So the big challenge is finance. We don't have finance because of corruption cases. You will notice that many of the leaders that come into the state office and public offices, they loot the money that is allocated to some of the projects. So you notice that even in the healthcare centers, we need money to buy high quality medical equipment and hiring highly qualified doctors, but we don't have the money. So many of our leaders will fly to India or maybe other countries to get treated there because we don't have those highly qualified equipments in our own hospitals. My question is, what is the government doing to reduce the corruption issue? Thank you.
Thank you. That's the third question. There was a fourth question over there. Then this.
Thank you. My name is Ngina Lilian, public health student, Kabarak University. My question is directed to Ms. Mwangola. I know the Big Four agenda of the long-term development plan, Vision 2030, we have said that it's not a government agenda only, and it's everybody's agenda. And so we have seen that the government has laid down initiatives to help the youth to take part in the agenda. And one of the projects that the government launched was the KIOP, that is the Kenya Youth Employment and Opportunities Project. So this project was, I think, giving out cash to the youth so that they can start businesses, so that they can sustain themselves. So my question is, why did the government think that it was necessary to give out the cash to the youth instead of, first of all, educating the youth on finance management? Remember, this cash was directed to youths probably who had completed their education up to class 8 or form 4, and maybe they don't have enough finance management. So we have already seen that big businessmen failing in the business who have, okay. I think my question is clear. So why does the government, first of all, educate the youth on finance management instead of just cashing out the youth cash? Thank you.
Thank you. That will be the last question. Then we can chart the way forward.
Hi, everyone. Okay, this is Kome, School of Law, Kabarak University. So I have this question. I would like to pose this question to Ms. Leader. So I must say, first of all, that I find it hard to understand why the private sector would have 70% key role to play in the attainment of the Big Four agenda, while the government is having the remaining 30% key role to play. And my understanding is this: when you try to look at the obligation that the government has, I know for some economists and the capitalists, they can say it's upon the private citizens to steer the economy of a country. But I believe when you try to scrutinize the economy of most countries, it's actually it's more of a deliberate effort by the government. And also, maybe I can add something. So, for instance, I was doing a certain research. You find that in South Africa, there's a lot of slums. There's something they call Coronation Park, whereby we have a lot of South Africans who don't have proper housing. But now the government of South Africa is taking a lot of measures to build houses for them and all that. So the question that I still pose is, we want our citizens to be innovative, we want our citizens to steer this economy, but the intrinsic question is, between the private citizens and the governments, who really has the bigger capacity to steer this country's economy? So who do you think has a great obligation for the attainment of what you're calling Vision 2030?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the questions. Can we now have Ms. Mongola go ahead? You're welcome.
Thank you for your very challenging questions, as well as very interesting. I'll attempt to answer some of them. I'll start with Florence. I think she asked, this Vision 2030 is just pronouncements by politicians and it hasn't been internalized. One of our roles as a secretariat is to ensure that it is internalized. I'm surprised that it's not that much internalized according to you, but at least in the government circles, everything is framed around achievement of Vision 2030. Our MTPs, our expenditure frameworks are all spanned around Vision 2030. When you do your proposals to international donors, they want to see how does it achieve the national goals as well as the international goals, for example, the SDGs. But I take that as feedback, and I will take it back to the Secretariat that we need to do better in terms of internalizing Vision 2030 in all our frameworks. Sorry, I didn't get the name. The question around housing. Mortgages are not affordable, clearly, and therefore that is why in the current medium-term plan, which was adopted by the current government, and the Big Four agenda is housing. And that's exactly the intention, that housing must be affordable, housing must be quality. I don't know, how many of you have heard of Boma Yetu? Have you registered for Boma Yetu? Nobody in this room has heard of Boma Yetu and all these initiatives around. Yes, thank you. So I think the concept is clear. I remember in the first medium-term plan, there was that was when Vision 2030 was just beginning. So there was a lot of reforms happening then, legislative, institutional reforms. And one of them was to create a mortgage company, a second mortgage company besides Kenya Mortgage, the Kenya Finance Housing, whatever, to fund people who had lower income and cannot afford the high interest that banks were charging. But however, that legislative reform did not see the light of the day. Again, another challenge. The person who asked about the shortcomings about achieving Vision 2030. Some of them require legislative reforms. And as you know, this, I think somebody took you through how do you get a policy passed through parliament and so on. It is a lengthy process, it is a political process, and it takes time, and sometimes it doesn't see the light of the day. That is what happened to the creation of the second finance mortgage company. But recently, under the Big Four agenda, they managed to push the housing fund, so making everybody contribute towards a fund. But again, the politics as it went in parliament, it didn't go through because people said, no, it has to be voluntary. It cannot be like NSSF and NHIF where you're forced, it's statutory that you contribute to the fund. So right now the housing fund exists and you can contribute and borrow money or get money at a very low interest rate. Another reform that happened was you can use your pension for those who are in permanent and pensionable jobs. You can borrow against your pension even when you're very young, and your pension becomes your security to buy your house. So there are all these reforms that are happening that are contributing. So please take time and study, what are some of these reforms around the Big Four agenda that are making things more bearable for the lower income category in our society. Alfred asked about corruption. I was shy to say this, I must admit, when I was challenged about what are some of the obstacles. But clearly, and it is an open secret in the press and so on, that we are experiencing challenges there. But also appreciate how many institutional reforms have been done to curb corruption. When was the ESCC created? It was during the tenure of Vision 2030 to deal specifically on issues of economic crime and corruption. The law enforcement agencies were reformed. We now see the Office of the Public Prosecutor much more active in that space of corruption. There's a whole, in the law reforms, in the judiciary reforms, we saw the creation of a court dealing with corruption cases. There's a court specific for economic crimes. So we are making progress. Rome was never built in a day, but all these are happening, and we pray that one day we'll see the end of such menace in our society. Lillian asked, Big Four agenda is everyone agenda, and specifically was about KIPPRA. Why are youth given cash with no educational sensitization? I'm surprised that such a program would come with that, because all youth targeted programs, the youth fund, the women fund, they do have an education component. So I think scrutinize the KIPPRA a bit more. I don't have the details at the moment, but I'm sure they would have an education component in KIPPRA, and I'll personally find out about that. As Vision 2030, we are going around the country doing forums called Kikaos for the youth. And the intention of these Kikaos is to bring all these youth-targeted programs implemented by government or designed for the youth by government, and get them to explain. They are all sitting in the forum together with youth, explaining to the youth, how do you access the youth fund? How do you access the women fund? All these affirmative action funds to borrow money and do your business. And I liked the presentation on innovation, I think brought it out. We take money, but we don't come up with viable innovations. And hence, some of this money gets stuck, either you can't pay back, and it affects the whole reform agenda. But I'll keep that in mind when we are doing the next youth Kikao, that we include KIPPRA to come and explain how they disburse their monies. Lastly, there was a question again about the 70%. And I think the impression is wrong. It's not that government is saying that we will only do 30%, private sector does 70%. The government does everything. Government is a regulator and the one mandated by the people to run government and to run the society. But for projects that were designed under Vision 2030, it was only about financing, and I was very specific. It was about financing the projects within the PPP framework so that we achieve the intentions of these projects and therefore achieve Vision 2030 collectively and get higher participation in a focused way. There's no point that private sector is throwing money all over the place, some of them losing money, when we can have a joint effort towards one common goal called a vision, the ideal place to be. I hope I've answered those questions.
Sure, you have. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mongola. A hearty round of applause, please. Thank you. I am told Mr. Sasaka, the CEO, Youth Enterprise Fund, if I'm not wrong, is that? Mr. Sasaka, the CEO. Youth? Yeah. Will come and say something to the effect of the training component in KIPPRA. Sorry about that. Please don't punch me.
We join together. Thank you so much, our super moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon once again. Yes, my name is Roy Sasaka Telewa. I'm the CEO for National Youth Council. Maybe he confused if I'm the CEO for Youth Enterprise Fund, but he's not so far from it because I also sit on the board of Youth Enterprise Fund. So maybe he was confusing whether I'm the CEO or the director at Youth Enterprise Fund. Thank you, Madam Ada. I think, and I like the way you presented and the feedback. And she was very categorical that she's very sure the training component in the KIPPRA was part of it. Yes, I just want to confirm that that was because I was one of the members who are running the program. I would want to confirm that the training component was actually the major. So it was in 3 phases. We had a phase where, of course, after the randomization, we train young people, we allocate them in their different areas of specialties, we train them, and then the money component, the grant component was coming at the tail end. And I think what you are referring to, what was bringing confusion, is about now the business competition that we ran, I think, at the tail end. That was also a unique model where we had now young people, after being exposed, we say young people can run businesses. Government trusts young people. That given an opportunity, you can start a business from the scratch and employ other young people. So what we did is we ran a business competition and we told young people to come up with viable business proposals. And the young people, of course, the business proposals were assessed and the best ones were actually awarded in terms of 3,900,000 those batches. And along the way, of course, there was a journey that now they were being, of course, supported and not just given once the money, but in batches as we look at what they are doing. So just in summary, I would want to say the business component in all affirmative funds, that is Youth Enterprise Fund where I serve as the board member, the Women Enterprise Fund, the affirmative funds of Uwezo, all of them, the first major thing that we do is to train young people, to equip them with the business entrepreneurial skills, to make sure that the businesses they are starting are going to actually support the government agenda of Vision 2030 and are going to create more employment for others. I just wanted to clarify that. And now that he gave me a moment, I just want to say, Jambo Sana, I may not be in tomorrow with you guys, but I just want to say thank you, Edie, and the entire team for this program. It's an amazing program. Just sitting there, listening in, it's an amazing program. And this is meant for us as young people to be exposed to these opportunities so that as we look at our transition from the university, we can start our businesses right now. So if you can work in those offices of Youth Fund, you can work in all those offices and take up those affirmative funds. Start your business and run so that you remember the debate. So that instead of saying we cannot achieve Vision 2030, you say, me, I am participating in the economic pillar of Vision 2030. Can we make that commitment as young people? Are we ready to make that commitment? Because if you can make that commitment here, then Madam Edi's here work will have been completed. Because that is the essence of this program, to expose us, to showcase us, so that if we look at our life from today, 5 years down the line, we can say, I attended a KIPPRA mentorship program. I heard about Youth Enterprise Fund. I enrolled, I applied, I got one, I started my business, and now I am an entrepreneur who has employed 100 people. So that is my challenge to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Roy Sasaka, for providing that information. Maybe the little mistake was prophetic, you could probably transition from this as CEO to the other in the same or even more better capacity. But thank you so much for that. I would like Mr. Victor Mosse to confirm whether I have a small request to make to the team seated here and of course those following us virtually. One of the presenters, Ms. Ruth Wanjiru Jenga, has been here with us for the better part of the afternoon, and she had been earlier selected to make her presentation today. But we all agree that we were a little delayed in the morning to start off the program. And so we had earlier thought that this presentation would spill over to tomorrow. But unfortunately, Ms. Ruth may not be available, actually will not be available to make her presentation tomorrow. I therefore wish to request that we spend around 15 more minutes, just 15 more minutes to listen to Ruth Jenga's presentation. After all, this is a knowledge sharing session, other than us miss out on what she has prepared for us. I know it will definitely make us a lot more richer than we came. Do you agree that we allow Ruth to make a presentation, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you. I now want to read, and of course that brings us to the Q&A session for the two presentations. Thank you. Oh, sorry. We will still bring Ms. Linda to answer the questions that were directed to her. And after that, immediately she does, I will introduce Ms. Ruth. Then we shall listen to her and adjourn just soon after she finishes presenting. Yes, Ms. Linda, please come up. Can we have the sanitized?
Thank you. I won't take much more time because I know there's another presentation. But it was a really, really good question. Really, really, really good question that is the subject of debate in many policy boardrooms and etc. So, what role should private sector play the upper hand in terms of investments in the country, in terms of the economic development and etc. Now, personally, I spend the bulk time of my work handling investments, working with private sector. Me, I have been in private sector all my life, right? So I always have a private sector mindset, unfortunately, many times. Yeah, so sometimes in government meetings, I have to switch a bit. Now, the truth is, we must be able to separate types of investments. What do I mean? There are investments or goods called public goods. What is a public good? What is a public good? What's the definition of a public good? Yeah, a commodity or service that is provided without any profit to anyone who partakes it. Right? What is another definition? A good provided for the well-being of the people. If you're an economist here, I did economics, and we studied public goods. So every government must sit and accept which are our public goods. Goods provided without profit. Do you get paid to use a road? You only get paid when a private investor is involved. The expressway, we will be charged. Why? We'll pay tolls. Why? But you get charged to use this road? But why the expressway will be charged? Why? Because a private person got involved. It's a PPP, thank you. It's what she was trying to explain. Private-public partnership. The truth is, to achieve the entire Vision 2030, private sector must be involved. But like she said, there must be regulation. But in many developed economies, there's also that which is done and protected for the good of the well-being of the people. So for example, you can't start charging the rural people to use this road. Who will use it? Who will pay? So there's always a balance, and you must understand investments. So for example, like even hospitals in the UK, I've lived in the UK for a while. The public hospital is stellar. The NHS is stellar. It's stellar and very cheap, because that particular government has decided this we shall offer as a public good for the well-being. In which case, there are people who cannot afford private sector healthcare, so they can still get the same standard but cheaply. And government must invest. So the truth is, for us to achieve development, private sector must be involved. I'm very private sector driven, and I look at deals and transactions. That's the bulk of my work. I look at transactions and I support private investors a lot. But for the well-being, there are some goods that have to be earmarked as public goods and treated as such. The problem is they're never given the same quality as ideally they should have been given. So to answer your question in many words, I'm very passionate about this. In many words, private sector cannot escape development. We need more, all this commercialization I was talking about, to make sockets, to make what? Affordable housing. All that commercialization will be done by private sector. There's countless opportunities. But then there's that which must be earmarked as public good and elevated to the same quality as if an investor, a private sector investor was involved. And there is, in my own personal opinion, that's where the gap is. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, for answering the questions. And thank you to both of you for the wonderful presentations. Allow me now, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce. I'm looking at Victor to confirm to me that the presentation is ready. Presentation is ready? Thank you. So, Ruth works with the Youth Enterprise Development Fund as an assistant county credit officer. She is passionate about youth empowerment and community development. She has a BSc in agricultural economics and resource management, and she has work experience spanning over 6 years, both in the public and private sector. Her philosophy is, if we make up our mind about what we are going to make of our lives, then work hard towards that goal. We never lose somehow, we win out. Having worked at the Youth Enterprise and Development Fund for 3 years, she managed to train over 5,000 youths and successfully funded over 500 groups and 200 individuals, both existing and upcoming entrepreneurs. Ruth has a goal of impacting our youth and help create an industrious society. She loves traveling, and I bet that's why she's traveled here, cooking and swimming whenever she's not carrying out formal duties. She is also a farmer, a wife, and a mother. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Ruth Wanjiru to make her presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Allow me to take this opportunity to say thank you for the welcome to partner with KIPPRA and other organizations. It's a great opportunity to also interact with you. I'm here on behalf of YEDEF, or Youth Enterprise Development Fund, Nakuru County. I will take the shortest time possible to take you through what we do and the product that we offer for our youths and where you can get us. So Youth Enterprise Development Fund was started by our government in 2007, and the vision was to empower our youths, specifically to be self-employed, and that's why we offer funds for the youths. In our constitution, a Kenyan youth is supposed to be between 18 years and 35 years. That's whom we consider a youth in our country. When you look at that picture, it says we must engage the jobless. The way we engage the jobless is by creating jobs. How? Youth Fund majorly will fund projects so that we can help youths to be self-employed and also to be job creators. So the first way we do it is by provision of startup and expansion credits. When you read about Youth Fund, our keyword is fund. It's all about money. So we provide startup money for startup and also expansion. We also provide enterprise development services. For example, we do market linkages. We also develop enterprises by linking them with other enterprises. That is what I've talked about. Provision of commercial infrastructure. By infrastructure, I mean those shops that you find in towns. Some are even in campuses, whereby we give the infrastructure, we rent it to youths at a lower price, and then the youths are able to run businesses in those infrastructure. The other thing is facilitation of labor export through a program we call YESA, whereby we facilitate youths who want to go and work abroad to go work, and then we give them as a loan. After we have given you money, you go work, and then you start paying us. Our money is not grants. I have to be very, very much clear. We give loans, not grants. We have different products. The first product, we measure on people into agribusiness, the agripreneurs, and we call it Agribiz Loan. I will take you through the requirements because they run across our products. The requirements are all the same, but the only thing that we have done, we have customized to meet the requirements or the needs of our clients. But the requirements are normally the same. So I'll just rush and then I'll give you the requirements that we ask for us to be able to finance your projects. So if you allow me use this agribusiness loan to tell you how we finance individuals, because we finance individuals and we also finance groups. So using the agribusiness loan, we give loans to individuals from 100,000 up to a maximum of 2 million for the first time. And that will be dependent on, are you a startup or are you expanding your business? Because for us to be able to finance, the first thing that we look at the ability of an individual to repay the loan. Because it's a loan, you have to be able to pay the loan. So when you're giving startup loans we give from 100,000. The only special loan there is agribusiness, whereby we are able to give the startup up to 300,000. But for other projects, we only give 100,000. So the interest, it has interest. Individual loans has interest, but a considerate interest of 5% per annum. That's a fixed interest, 5% per annum. Repayment period will stretch over up to 6 years, depending on amount and also the installment you're supposed to repay. Then we don't have a grace period. We only have 30 days grace period. 30 days. That means if we fund you today, you're supposed to start paying next month, same day. So the grace period goes to 30 days. So for agribusiness loan, the first one, you pay for 3 years. The reason as to why we say agribusiness, you have to pay for 3 years. Agribusiness normally deals with either value addition, crop, or animal rearing. So we give you that loan assuming you want to pay 300,000 in a period of 3 years and you are doing pig farming. How long does it take for you to rear your pigs until you sell? It goes up to 6 months. So we can customize that loan that you pay us depending on the project that you have. You pay us after each and every 6 months, that we spread over. Unlike the other loan where you're doing business. For example, those who are doing, I have seen music here. So it's an income generating activity where you get money on monthly basis. And that's why I called agribusiness a special loan, because we have customized it to fit seasons in agribusiness. Unlike other businesses where you get money on monthly basis, you pay us on monthly basis. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Okay. The second one is called Talanta. Talanta, this is where we finance the people who are into talent growth. For example, those in music, those into arts, those are the people that we finance using Talanta. The beauty with Talanta loan, it does not have interest. It is 0% interest, provided you can prove your work. For example, if you're into music, you have to be registered by the music, it's called what? Music? Those in music, which organization do you register with? The legal entity. Yes, I've not had it right. Yeah, Music Copyright of Kenya. If you're into arts, you have to register with a legal entity. So because we finance those activities that are recognized. You can't just come to the office, say you do entertainment, but you don't have proof of your work. That is for Talanta loan, 0% interest. The repayment period is flexible, from 1 year up to 6 years, depending on the amount. For Talanta loan, we also buy instruments or tools of work. Allow me to call them tools of work because different talents need different equipments. For example, those people into videography, you can come, we buy those things or the equipment that you need to do videography. Those into recording, you come, we buy you machines. So for Talanta loan, we will finance you as an individual to grow your talent, or we'll also do asset financing. VUCA loan is the loan that we give to those people in other businesses. That is not agribusiness, and that is not Talanta loan. Up to 5 million that you're seeing there is for a subsequent borrower. This for loan startup that I've talked about. I want to be very, very much clear on startup loans, because on startup loans, we usually have a problem in our office. You come with an idea and you tell us to finance an idea. When you're financing that idea, the key thing here, remember, when the government came up with Youth Fund, the main aim was to help generation. You are a youth today, tomorrow you'll not be a youth. So when we finance you, we expect you to repay that loan. You have come with an idea. For example, you're into teaching, but you want to do something different from employment. The key thing that we look at is your ability to repay the loan. You can't come to the office where you don't have the ability to repay the loan. You can't show us you have the ability to repay the loan and tell us to finance your idea. I'll tell you how we will help you. When I say we cannot help you as an individual, where you come and say you have an idea we finance, you have to have the ability to repay. That is the first thing we look at. So before I go to group loans, allow me to take you through the requirements for all individual loans, because they are all the same. The first one is we look at the years between 18 and 35 years. The next one is your bank statement. Your bank statements must be able to show us you have the ability to repay the loan. That is the first thing that we look at, your ability to repay the 6 months bank statement. If it's a new business that you're starting, we will need a business plan, whereby we need to know how are you going to use the money that you are going to give you. The other thing is security. Remember, the only way we know you is physical meetings. So when you come to the office, we will ask for security. For anything that is from 0 to 100,000, that does not exceed 100,000, we will ask you for something that we call chattels. Chattels are the household goods. The things that you own, the small items that you own, that can be able to secure that loan. Necessarily, it does not have to be your own things that you have. The charter necessarily doesn't have to be yours. You can get guarantors. Here, we ask for 2 guarantors. These are the people that know you. You know, in Kenya or over the world, we say youths are dynamic. Today you're in Nakuru, tomorrow you'll be in Nairobi. You don't stay in one place. You're always on the move. You're always looking for growth. So how do we secure our loan? Some of you are going to Qatar. Some are going to Dubai. So, but here you have our loan. So when you go, we need something that is securing our loan. So when you get anything that is above 100,000, up to those millions, 2 million to 5 million, now we will require you to give us a logbook or a title deed. That is from 2 million, from 100,000 to 2 million. Here you get two guarantors who can be anyone, provided there is a KIPPRA PIN and also ID copy of the guarantor to confirm that person who has given you the security has agreed to help you acquire the facility. Apart from, let me be clear, apart from agribusiness loan, where I said up to 300,000 you can secure using what? Chattels. The other thing that you require from you is your ID copy and also your KIPPRA PIN. There is a question I always get. If you're from Baringo County, but you stay in Nakuru, must you go back to Baringo? No. You can secure youth fund from anywhere, provided the business is going to run in that county. But you cannot finance a project in Baringo from Nakuru County. So that is for individual loan. I said the interest is 6%, fixed interest, cutting across the number of years you're going to pay. Grace period, 30 days. That is for individual loan. I hope I'm clear before I go to group loans. Now allow me to go to group loans. For group loans, we have three main loans that we give as group loans. When I'm talking about a group, what do I mean by a group? Because I have to be very clear, because you can't just come 5 of you and say you are a group. We consider members of a group to be a legal entity only and only if you have registered with the Social Services Office. So you have a certificate of registration from the Social Services Office. The second thing we consider is the number of people in a group. For youth fund, we say a group can be from 5 members up to, we don't have a limit to the maximum, but we normally say the bigger the group, the more harder it is to manage. So you can register from 5 members of the group, provided 70% of the members in that group are youths. 70%. And that means if you're 10 of you, at least 7 members must be youths, 3 can be non-youths. We also say 100% youth is also a good youth group. The other thing we look at is that all members must have ID copies. The other thing we look at is you must have a bank account. From a commercial bank, not from SACCOs, because it's a government parastatal, we deal with banks. We don't deal with SACCOs. So you must have a bank account from a commercial bank. Those are the requirements for a group. So allow me to take you through our products for groups. The first one is called Rausha. This is for a new group that has something that wants to do together as a group. And that's why the name calls it Rausha. Tunawa Rausha. As the word suggests, it's Rausha. So it's a new group that needs to have a project to do. So for Rausha, with all those requirements, we will be able to finance you up to 100,000. And something that makes group loans easier for youths to access is that they don't have interest. It's 0% interest, although there is 5% management fee during disbursement. That means whatever you apply for will be less 500,000. No, sorry, 5% management fee. The grace period for repayment is 90 days. 90 days. So that you can start paying your loan. That I've said, up to 5 members. 70% must be youth, 18 to 35 years. The second one is Inua. Now, for Inua, these are groups that have been established or groups that have activities that have been running. Now, tunawainua. Mshaamka, now we are here to kuwainua. As the word suggests, it's tunawainua now. Now for Inua, you will be able to apply for the first loan. You can get up to 200,000. 200,000. Repayment period maximum 18 months plus the grace period of 3 months. That's total up to 21 months. That is almost 2 years for you to repay that loan. So what happens with Inua? Once you have cleared the first loan that you're given, you can reapply and you are also able to access double the amount that you have repaid. That's why they have said the second loan 200,000, that loan 400,000. So unaendanga, as you apply, the loan inaenda ikiongezewa by double. That's how it happens. For Inua, it's up to a maximum of 1 million. Mkishafika 1 million, group ikiweza kupata loan ya 1 million, it means that group has grown. Ama members wame grow. So from there, we now start encouraging you to apply the CS Smart. The CS Smart is the loan where members are able to access loans as members within a group. CS Smart you can get after you have successfully repaid the first loan that you have applied. So what happens with the CS loan is we will finance members within that group as now individuals within a group under the umbrella of the group using the group certificate. So the first amount that you're able to access is between 25,000 up to 50,000. That is for the first time, but subsequently, the maximum you will access is up to 200,000 as members within a group. For the first time, we do not finance all members for CS loan. We finance 80% of the group. Now, after the 80% have cleared, we are able to finance 100% of the group. This slide was a bit long. Going back. Yes. I don't know why I'm going back. So the other thing that you will ask is, for group loans, do we ask for security? No. The security of the group are group members. Where group members act as guarantors of each other. That's why when you are starting a group, you need to know each other well. The other last thing that I'm going to talk about is LPO and LSO financing. For Lpo and Lso financing, we finance 70% the cost of the Lpo or Lso. Then the 30% comes from the applicants. For Lpo Lso, the loan also is secured. Repayment period 90 days. That is for Lpo Lso. Requirements, I think I'll leave that slide. You can have a look at it. And I'll leave my number also. They are there, all of them. In case of any question, you can contact me or you can visit our offices in Nakuru. We are at NHIF building, second floor. Our offices are open from Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. Because of time, naona nikiambua hapa, so allow me to end it there. Probably I'll have a question or two, and then I'll give my number. You'll get my number. You can ask me any question, but please call during working hours.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth. When you get Ruth's number, please remember to call between 8 to 5 o'clock. If you remember in the introduction, she said she's a wife and a mother, so anything outside 5 o'clock may not be welcome. Thanks, Ruth, for the good presentation, and we are sorry for limiting you with time, but I can assure you that information has sunk. Most of us have understood. We will definitely follow up with you in the event that we develop an interest for any of the facilities that you have presented to us. I know there could be one or two questions. We'll be entertaining just up to 2 questions only, if there's any. And there's the doctor, I forgot the name, but from KIPPRA. And so that's one question. The other one will be that. I saw that hand first. So we'll have 2 questions, or 3. Let me give it 3, then that will be the end of it. That's Dr.
Yes, thank you, Ruth, for the insightful presentation. I identify with your presentation because my area of interest is agribusiness, and I'm very passionate about the youth. And at KIPPRA, I manage a program on entrepreneurship in agribusiness or agripreneurship. And many a times I interact with my students because I really advocate for my students to go for these funding opportunities. But during the interaction, some complaints normally emerge. One of them is that the processes are normally tedious. I remember last year I had a class and they were telling me, Madam, those processes are very tedious, and that scares us from, going for those facilities. And it is recorded, especially the Nakuru County government in the year 2021, about 70 million shillings was allocated to the youth fund, but only 15 million. Actually, the applicants responded worth, 15 million. So you find that the uptake of these funding is very low. And during your presentation, one thing I normally train my students on is how to develop sound business plans, because youth, they have brilliant ideas. So somebody can approach you with an idea, but the moment you request the person to articulate the ideas on a piece of paper and present it, or you want to present it to a potential funder, they take off. You will not see that person again. So I realize that that is also a gap, and I don't know in your requirements whether you also demand for business plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. One other question here, then there will be the other one. Oh yes, please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Bernard Kiplagat from Arvist. My question is very simple. You've said that a group loan or a group must consist of not less than 5 members. And if they acquire the loan, the members are the security. Now, assuming that 3 of the members, if we have 5, 3 of the members fly out of the country, will that one person be the security or the 2 people be the security now of that loan? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last question.
So my name is Thaya Jesse Kabarak. So my question is with regard to the grace period as you've mentioned. Could you probably clarify a bit? For instance, we say you're given the 30 days grace period. Is it in reference to like within these 30 days, you need to come up with something? It has to, give you returns, then you pay back within the 30 days? Or, yeah, maybe some clarity on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Those were the 3 questions. I now request Ms. Ruth to kindly respond to the 3 questions.
Thank you for the questions. The first one is about business plan. It said when you want to start a new business, we will require you to have a business plan. Majorly, the reason is why we ask for a business plan is because we need to know, do you have a good plan or a budget on how you're going to use that money after we have finance? Because you could apply for 1 million and maybe you just need 500,000. So a business plan is key, especially if you're venturing into a new business. When we give you our application forms, we have a page where you draw your budget so that you can be able to see what do you plan to do with the money. When we finance you, what is your expected growth? So a business plan, yes, it's key and we require it. The next question is about group responsibility, where someone asked whether if a group borrows money and 3 members leave, then the responsibility will be on the person left to follow up with the group members and make sure the money is paid. Remember, we have trusted you as a group because we believe that you know each other. When you met, you had a common goal. So you must also have a way where you are able to know how are you going to repay. Just in case one of you is not there, who takes the responsibility? It's a group responsibility and we cannot waive the responsibility. The next one is about, someone has asked, the 1 month or the 30 days that I've talked about, the grace period, what is it for? When we're giving you individual loan, we give you a loan. And the first thing I said we look at is the ability of the client to repay that loan. So the ability of that client to repay that loan must come either from the business that the client is running or an alternative source of business. If you have done a little bit of business, you can be sure that some businesses take time to pick up or to give you profits. So we need you to be secure, quote unquote. We need you to be secure. Before this business picks up, what do I use to repay this loan? So the 30 days are the days that you're supposed to restart paying the loan. Oh, sorry. It's the time that you're supposed to start paying the loan, the 30 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth, for responding to the 3 questions. I know we could get more questions, but because of time, it's reasonable that we now stop. I have some announcements to make. The sessions tomorrow will begin at exactly 8 o'clock. So you are kindly requested to ensure that by 8 o'clock you are at the registration desk It's important that you register so that we can be able to communicate with you and even correspond with you in the future. So we report here at exactly 8 a.m. with a couple of minutes to 8 a.m. You are also requested, and this goes to students, Kabarak University students and all students from the invited institutions, to kindly remember to evaluate today's sessions, and a link that provides you the platform to evaluate sessions that have happened today has been sent to your phones. That evaluation exercise is very important because it enables us to try do better where we have probably not done well today. But of course, I know we have tried. Finally, we have been requested that we do a brief photo session because I know we have some guests who are present today and they may not be available tomorrow. So we will have about 3 photos. One will comprise our leaders who are sitting on the front, invited guests. Yeah, so our leadership and the invited guests, that will be one photo. The other one will be for the students who participated. I want to think that these are students who took part in the debate. Dr. Wino, students who took part in the debate. Thank you. That will be the second photo. And the third and last one will be for the leadership from both institutions and invited guests, together with the students who participated. I think that's clear. I now want to invite Dr. Moses Thiga to make a remark and close today's session with a word of prayer. Dr. Moses Thiga is the Director of Research, Innovation and Outreach at Kabarak University, Dr. Thiga. So after he prays, I would like us to, in the order of the leaders and invited guests, move to the front. Then after them, it will be the students who participated, and after that, we do a joint photo. Thank you.
Good evening. I trust that it has been a good day. Has it? Yeah. It's been good. It's been fruitful for me in particular. I will not really do a vote of thanks as it were, but I must really thank our presenters for today, for such wonderful presentations. It's been great learning. And of course, KIPPRA, through the Executive Director, for bringing this great learning to this side of the country. So let us pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for a wonderful day that you've given us. We thank you for the gift of life and health. We thank you, Lord, for the great learning that we've had today. We pray that you may bless all our presenters, Lord, and the institutions they represent. And we thank you, Lord, for all the participants for having taken time to come and sit through this day and learn and ask questions. We pray, Lord, that these seeds of knowledge and insights that have been planted today, Lord, may bear great fruit. We pray for the evening, Lord, as we retire to rest, as we travel back to our respective homes and residences, the Lord, you may grant us journey mercies. We commit tomorrow before you. The Lord, it may be an equally beautiful day, good weather and great learning. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Please remember to clad in the KIPPRA t-shirt tomorrow, if you have one, so that we have this event properly branded.